Hey guys, I'm going to be talking about the Defenders miniseries on Netflix. And just before I do that, to briefly go over, uh, this series, miniseries actually, because it was only 8 episodes, is the combination of the various Marvel Netflix shows. It started off with Daredevil, then we had Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist. Now, me personally, I thought Daredevil was the best of these Netflix Marvel series. As you can see here, I got both seasons on DVD, or Blu-ray, whatever. And that's just because, there the rumors that maybe Disney will take off the material off Netflix and make their own station. And as with anything with streaming, you can never be sure if it's going to continue being streaming. So me personally, I would rather own a DVD or Blu-ray. So that's why I got these. Because if it does go off, I would rather watch this series over anything else. I felt that the first season of Daredevil, it was dark and intense and quite well done. The thing is, though, it can be difficult to maintain that type of intensity and darkness and, so on. I mean, sometimes this series got so dark and intense that, if you're feeling in a bad mood, you might not want to watch this series as it really gets downhill sometimes. I mean, what happens to the reporter guy? You kind of already sense what's going to happen to him, but when it actually happens, it's like, oh my gods, you feel kind of crushed. So I mean, it was no wonder that it got a surprise second season. They didn't originally plan this, but as we can see now, it was for the best because, if you don't watch any of the other Netflix shows, that's fine. If you didn't see Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, or Iron Fist, that's perfectly fine if you want, going into Defenders. But before you watch Defenders, at least do yourself the favor of watching Daredevil. Because Daredevil very much leads into what's going on with Defenders. With a bit with Iron Fist, yes, but if you're not interested in the series, at least read up about the series and things that take place. Again, Daredevil was my favorite. It's why I got it on Blu-ray, so I can watch it again. So if it does get taken off, I have its own. Jessica Jones, I felt was well done. It can be difficult to watch a second time round because of the emotional things that happen and because of the darkness that happens. But it was a very good series. I like the actress that played Jessica Jones, Charlie Cox, who plays Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil. He is very good, and he's very good at doing blind acting. Pretending that he's blind when in fact he isn't. And you can see this even with Defenders here, of how he holds his head and his head movements, the jerking of the head, and you can tell that he's not aware of what's visually going on because of those head movements and so on. Now, Luke Cage, I like the comics. I started reading this volume, and I enjoy the comics. I've talked about this before. This series, I have my issues. Some people may not like my opinion of that. I understand that. I understand what the Luke Cage series was doing. I felt the first half of the series was good. I just didn't much care for the second half for various reasons. Partly because of things like Cottonmouth. He was a good villain. And the series tossed him away. Fine, okay, kill him. And sure, Black Mariah was good villainess, but that's an example of maybe it should have been a shorter series. That, and certainly they should have saved the Diamondback for maybe the second season. So again, the first half of Luke Cage series I liked. I just didn't much care for the second half. Partly because of missed opportunities I felt, partly because I didn't agree with what they're doing. For various reasons. I enjoy the Luke Cage comics. I enjoy his, storylines in the comics and, the early runs here. And I've been enjoying reading this. I've not gotten further than this first volume yet, but I'll get there eventually. So the character I enjoy, I just didn't necessarily enjoy the way that the series went out. Maybe they'll do better second time round. We'll see. Now, the last series was Iron Fist. And I have started reading a bit of his first run in comics. Not everything, but some of it. Now, a lot of people had a lot of opinions about Iron Fist. Some people liked it, some people did not. Some people were very harsh with it. I enjoyed it. I didn't mind it. Some people didn't like the corporate elements of the series. I didn't mind that so much. Would it be a series I would watch the second time around? Not necessarily. Again, Jessica Jones. I started rewatching the first season, but it can be difficult to watch the second time around because of what happens and the emotional things that happen. Luke Cage, again, I like the first part of the first season. I just, I'm not sure if it'd be something I would watch again. If the second season does well, I will certainly give it a chance. Iron Fist, I enjoyed it the first time around. I don't know if I would watch it again. Daredevil again, obviously. I will willingly watch this again and again because it's that good. And of the Netflix series, I think it's the best. It was the first and the best. And I'm just going over this series and by way of doing that of the characters. Daredevil. Charlie Cox was very good. I really like Kristen Ritter as Jessica Jones. She does well in this series, and at first she's kind of, and this is just in terms of writing, her character is kind of held back a bit at first. But she's given great one-liners, typical Jessica Jones one-liners. And, sometimes you feel the story isn't using her character as well as it could have. And again, that's a writing issue. But, as the series progresses, you feel that they use her character very well. Luke Cage in this series, I thought he was written well, he was performed well, and he did well. And I'm going to talk about that as I talk about later with the episodes. Now, with Danny Rand and Iron Fist, for this series, I thought he did well, but with some things, and I'll talk about that also, he has this great fun aspect about him. With Luke Cage, you felt he was the very level-headed person here, and with the most common sense. And he very much worked well with Danny Rand. So much so, I would rather have Iron Fist and Power Man series rather than the second season of, Iron Fist and Luke Cage. Quite frankly, I would rather, because, they worked together in the comics. B, these two actors worked well on screen. So I would rather watch a show of them together, working together, rather than individual shows returning. I would rather have them working together in the show, one show. Um, but anyways, moving on. We do have other characters returning. We get the minor characters like Jessica Jones' neighbor, who is very much a big character, but he does well with the material he's given. Foggy is done very well here. Colleen Wing, she has her moments, but I mean, sometimes she's like, "Why are you even here?" Sometimes she's valuable, and they want to push her aside, and she was like, "Really? I just helped you guys. Why are you pushing me aside?" So it's kind of half and half with Colleen. It's like sometimes, why is she here other than just to be here? And then other times she's actually is helpful. And other times it's like we're doing retreading material with her, and I'll get with that. Misty Knight is done well. It's just in terms of the character, it's like they don't entirely want to trust her, and so she's the one who's constantly asking, what's going on here? If you would just let me help here, I'm a cop. Let me do my job. And that gets kind of frustrating, and that her own people on the force aren't trusting her, and she's not able to do what she needs to do. Partly because they don't want to let her in, partly because the department doesn't trust her, and she. And I guess I get it. They're trying to set up where she believes in the police force. She does not believe in vigilantism. But because of events that go on here, she feels that, okay, maybe being a vigilante is the way to go because working in the system does not work. Here I am in the system, and the system isn't treating me well. So you know what? The heck with you guys. I'll work on my own. So I felt that was kind of being set up. Trish Walker, she was used very minor, more to bring up the points of there's this earthquake she wants to talk about, but she's not allowed to, and she's wondering things, she's questioning things. So she's a little bit of the exposition character. Karen Page, again, she's very minor, and both Foggy and Karen, they both know Matt's secret. They both want him to stop. And you get kind of frustrated with them for that. Because me as the audience viewer, I'm like, no, he should be Daredevil for fuck's sake. Stop, trying to prevent him doing what he should be doing because the city needs his help. You guys are trying to prevent him from being Daredevil, and he needs to be Daredevil. You guys don't get him. You kind of get that feeling. Claire Temple. Oh my God, Rosario Dawson is so awesome. She's been in various shows here. And she has been the glue that has held them together. She's been in Luke Cage, she's been in Daredevil, and so on. And, and she does well here, even though she's not given a lot to do in terms of what her character is written and so on. Even by her very presence, you feel that she is the glue that's holding everything together, and she's... My God, I mean, if you were to make a Claire Temple Netflix series, I would fucking watch that series. I don't care what you do with it. Even if it's a mini-series, make something, short series where she's helping out and being her own hero. I would fucking watch that series because that's how good the actress is. That's how good the character's written. And so on, make a Claire Temple show. Seriously, do it. Now, anyways, moving on. It's Sigourney Weaver as Alexandra. As a character, I thought she was written well. One of the faults with this series is the production value. See, some people have complained about the cheapness, and especially of how her character is dressed. You know, certain outfit she's wearing is not. It's like very cheap, and it just doesn't feel like right. But of course, being a great actress, she is able to bring great presence. And with her character, you very much feel the need for why the hand is doing what it's doing. Because she herself is dying, and she being one of the fingers of the hand, one of its leaders, and one of the chief leaders, she wants to get the substance that will give them back their mortality and ability to continue living. And you very much feel for her character of why they need to do this, because she's dying and she's going off and enjoying things, feeling she may never enjoy these things again. Going to a restaurant that she likes, or listening to a private session of music, and things like that. Things that, I may never have this experience this again. So I want to experience it one last time, just in case. I want to get the substance and live again, but I may not. So let me enjoy this. And she's the one with the plan, and the others question her plan and her motives. And partly because it's shifting in ranks. We get other members of the leaders of the hand returning. We get. How do you pronounce it? Hang on 1 second, because I know I'm going to say it wrong. What is it? Baktu, who's one of the leaders of the hand. I'm trying to find it, and I'm Baktu. I may be saying it wrong, and if so, you may just have to let it go. So I apologize if I'm saying Baktu wrong, because I can wait. No, I can't find it. All right. I think it's Baktu, but I might be saying it wrong. He was in Iron Fist. He was Colleen Wing's mentor at first. Again, if I'm saying the name wrong, I apologize. And, as a character and an actor, I liked him. I enjoyed him. It felt like we were retreading old material here with, Colleen Wing, you used me and misled me, and, I'm upset with you. And he's like, well, I want to show you your true potential. And, so it kind of felt like with him that we're retreading old material. I didn't mind too much of it, but some of it was kind of like, okay, already, we get it, But, luckily, we still had some of the other leaders. We had, Sigourney Weaver a lot, doing, a very good job. And we had Madame Gao, and she is such a great villainess. And I'm going to get into a moment. It was a very awesome moment with her. Madame Gao, I think, is my favorite of the leaders of the hand, because she's very mysterious. And, with her, you don't always know her motives. And there's always something more going on. And she's very secretive. And I'm glad that we don't flesh out her character. Even in Defenders, you feel that Defenders is supposed to be the culmination of these series where we know what the hand wants and what they're going after, so everything will be explained. With Gao, at least, some things are still held in reserve. And I think that was very beneficial, especially to the character. Now, with other characters, we get like other side characters, like an architect who, Jessica Jones is investigating, and his family. Some things with this architect family, it kind of dragged on more than it needed to. It's like, okay, figure out already what's wrong with him, and it's like, he's going to the piano and never playing it, and she should have been the one to figure out why this is, but no, it turns out to be Matt Murdock. Because of course, he's putting something there. You feel with that, things should have been resolved a lot sooner, and it was just being padded out. And I know I'm talking about this sporadically, but just bear with me. Now, and I'm gonna try and keep it as spoiler free as possible, but I'll let you know when I go into spoiler material. The first couple episodes, it was very much setting up these characters and having them individually doing their thing, and Matt Murdock not being the Daredevil anymore, and he made this vow not to be the Daredevil, and but he still sees these problems, and we have Elektra returning, and because we see with the second series of Daredevil, she was being stored away by the Hand, and she's being resurrected by the Hand. And we have the like Luke Cage going back to Harlem, and he served his time. He was released partly because of the legal help with Foggy Nelson. And he just wants to go back and help his neighborhood. He is wondering what Black Mariah is doing, and etc. And he's investigating kids that have gone missing, and one family of kids, and he wants to help this one kid who's getting mixed up with the Hand. And you get the sense, and it's not really entirely fully developed, but you get the sense that Luke sees himself in this kid. Now, in the Netflix Luke Cage series, he's a former cop that was wrongly accused. In the comics, he was not a cop. He was, what the Pops character was in the Luke Cage series. I've commented before, I think, where I felt that elements of Luke Cage's comic book character was put upon the Pop character. That he was a former, street kid, gangster, whatnot, but he eventually decided to, go straight, seek the right path, and not be a gangster anymore. But, he's set up and he's sent to prison. That's the Luke Cage character in the comics. And in some ways, in terms of the writing, it got kind of confused with that, especially with the Luke Cage character. I mean, and especially when they brought in Diamondback, because it was almost, to me at least, it felt like as if we're writing it as if it's the comic book story where Luke Cage was former street kid and etc. And I kind of wish they kept that for the series. But anyways, for Luke Cage with Defender series, I thought he was done well. Again, he wants to go back to Harlem. He sees himself in this kid. And I again, this is why also I think they should have kept the straight kid element to Luke Cage, because it would have felt better in terms of how Luke Cage is interacting with his kid, because he wants this kid to do right. He wants him not to be part of the gang. And he wants to protect him, to keep him out of danger, and not have him arrested. But this kid, he doesn't want to listen to Luke Cage. He feels this is the only way to help my family. And he's not listening to Luke Cage. And, and he gets himself enmeshed in with one of the leaders of the Hand who is recruiting young kids, and he unfortunately runs into danger and dies. And it's okay, fine. I said I would give spoiler warnings. Obviously, I just broke that rule. I apologize if you have not seen the series yet. Okay, so fine. I will give spoiler warnings. I apologize. I should have said that before. Anyways, this kid dies, and he is obviously, he's sending this Luke Cage to his mother. Give her a lottery ticket. And you don't sense it at first. She's not actually scratching off the lottery tickets and using them. She's setting them aside and putting them in this box where only the kid, could reach it. And Luke Cage is putting the ticket in the box and sees all this money that the kid's been setting aside, which is obviously what the kid was sending Cage for. Without actually saying this, because again, he's in an environment where he can't explain everything, because someone else might listen in, and rob his mother or something. If he says, "Hey, I have this money set aside for my mom," and some other prisoner overhears him and tells one of his buddies outside, the mom could be robbed and killed, or whatnot. So by devices, the kid is sending Luke Cage to the mom. But when the kid is killed in prison, obviously because he knows too much, it's such a sad moment. Because Luke Cage was interested because the woman's other son was taken away, was getting involved and was killed. And she's weeping. Both my babies are gone. And it's such an emotional moment. I mean, I'm welling up inside because of it. It was such an emotional moment. It's just, because there's no resolution for her. Both her boys are gone. And, Luke Cage, he just, he doesn't want vengeance. And he doesn't want, he knows that no justice will be given to this mother, to this kid. He just wants to know why. What was this kid involved with? If I can figure that out, if I can find this out, maybe the kid's death will, I will understand this. Maybe. And I will stop other kids from being taken away and being killed and getting involved with this. So he's interested in the street level thing. And, that is the one element of this version of Luke Cage I like. That, was certainly brought out with this series, was kind of brought out with the other series. That he's the street level person who cares about people of his neighborhood. And protecting them and wanting to prevent them from getting in trouble and making sure that they don't get into danger in whatever capacity. So that's why he's interested in this. Jessica Jones is doing her usual investigator thing. Although, again, in terms of writing, they could have done her better in terms of that. She's looking into the architect who made this building, and it looked like he was a terrorist, and there's this earthquake, and maybe he was involved, but actually it turns out that he knows what's going on here. He designed this building, and she's given some good investigative moments. I will say that, where she's researching him, and because of this actress and how good she is. She can assume a different personality. Oh, hey, I'm this bubbly girl who wants to, get architecture like this, and I want to find out about this person, so I want to find out more. That's where, her character is done well. But it kind of hurts when the story doesn't follow up with this, where she should have figured out much sooner what was going on here, and it turns out to be another character, you know. And for her character, because she doesn't really care, she wonders, why am I involved with it? I just want to figure out what's with the architect. I don't want to get involved with this bigger thing. I don't know the hand. Why should I care about the hand? And she's made to see, well, yes, the hand is important because there's bigger things involved. And she realizes these bigger things. And Danny Rand, to him, it's all about, I'm the Iron Fist, I need to fight the hand. For Daredevil, again, it's the reluctant thing. It's, I want to help, but I swore not to be Daredevil, and, in fact, in full lawyer garb, he goes out and, stops some shooter from killing these kids who are robbing. He's like, they're just kids. You don't have to kill them and shoot them, because again, he can't help himself. He wants to help, and so on. And as we get in, the first 2-3 episodes, it's set up and bringing these characters together. And by the 4th episode, it's when everybody's together and everybody's working together. Because at first we get Luke Cage and Danny Rand pairing up, and I felt that was very much the Iron Man and Power Man of the comics type of thing. And again, that's why I want an Iron Man Power Man series over a second series of individual characters. Because these actors and these characters work so well together, and they work better as a team than individual characters for various reasons. Anyways, the first 2 are set up, individual characters, within their own worlds. And again, you don't necessarily have to watch the other series. You do have to watch Daredevil, and at least be aware of what goes on with Iron Fist and the intricacies of Iron Fist. And if you just want to read on Wikipedia what goes on, that's perfectly fine. Again, I have no problem with this series. It's just, it wouldn't be a series I would watch a second time around. So at least be aware of elements of Iron Fist. You don't necessarily have to watch Jessica Jones or Luke Cage, because you're given enough with these first 2 episodes of who these people are, what their characters are, what their abilities are. You get that. Luke Cage is super strong. He's super tough, and bulletproof, etc. You get that Jessica Jones is super strong and whatnot. And again, you get Iron Fist, that he, because he explains, his abilities to Luke Cage. I focus my chi, I get the Iron Fist, and whatnot. And he's the only one who can hurt Luke Cage. Now, episode 4, it was a slow episode, and it needed to be. Because it's the episode where all these characters are coming together, and they're discussing the situation, and they're wondering, should we work together? Jessica Jones, she's the first one to, walk out the door because she feels, I am not part of this bigger picture. At least she feels that at the time. She goes back later to help out. Okay, fine, maybe I am a part of this bigger picture. So episode 4, we get these characters interacting together and working together and seeing reluctantly that we have to work together in order to deal with the hand. And we get Stick, who comes in and sort of corrals them together and shows them all, this is the war that I've been fighting. Of course, Matt Murdock, who doesn't entirely trust Stick, is like, okay, Danny, maybe he has some answers, but don't exactly follow everything he says. And meanwhile, while this is going on, the hand is, gearing up to attack them because they want to take Danny Rand, and Elektra's being, been brought back to life, and Daredevil's not upfront about this knowledge to the others. And, at the end of this episode 4, she comes in and attacks them. Episode 5, again, it's the heroes all working together and, dealing with the bigger problem. Which is that the hand is working together to get at something. We don't know what at this point. This series was very good at keeping secret, and only giving out information a bit at a time. We know that they want something, and we figure out that it's underneath New York. And by attending what this is, we learn it's the substance that makes them immortal. That by them getting this, it's going to hurt the city. It's going to effectively destroy the city, because the hand's attempts to get at this substance, it causes an earthquake, it causes power outages, it causes various damage that could effectively destroy the entire city. And the hand, being immortal, the leaders being immortal characters are like, cities fall all the time. They don't care who gets hurt. So there's this build-up to, this substance, getting to this. It kind of, in some ways, doesn't pan out when we get to the substance, and, we'll talk about that. Now, episode 6. This I will not spoil. Because what happens is really shocked me. I was like, oh my god, So, but basically, we get the elements that everybody sees that Danny is the one that the hand wants, and they feel that they should, essentially keep Danny prisoner to prevent him from being taken by the hand. And Danny's against all this, and so they keep him prisoner, but he eventually gets taken away and whatnot. And then we get the shocking moment, which I won't spoil. Then we get the last 2 episodes, and as we get to the last 2 episodes, in some ways I felt that the build-up didn't pay off. And maybe that's just because of the way it was written, certainly not the way it was performed, but the way it was written. We're getting this whole Kan thing, this substance, which turns out to be, again, spoiler alert this time, I'll give it. Turns out to be dragon bones that are buried underneath the series. City, and the hand, when they get the dragon bones, will essentially destabilize all of New York and destroy New York. This is not given as much emphasis as it kind of should have, and you have Danny Rand, who is reacting without us audience seeing what it is. He's like, oh my god. And then we go on to other scenes. But then when we go back into it, it's kind of a disappointment. Sure, we knew a wall, but a wall with writing, and, so in some ways, we don't feel the, oh my god, that the character is feeling. And it was clear that, that Danny Rand was being led to open this wall. He was not really being too bright in the fight there, because it was obvious that his opponent, and I'm not going to spoil this, his opponent was leading him to do, what he was refusing to do. Now, meanwhile, the other defenders, Jessica Jones, Daredevil, and Luke Cage, sorry, they go up and they meet the other leaders of the hand. And this was a very good fight sequence. And this is when Colleen Wing comes in and finally shows her worth and helps them out. And, unfortunately for the next episode, the last one, we get the retread of her and her former mentor and blah, blah, blah. And the only good thing to come out of that is what her mentor does and what that's going to lead into with a certain character. That I will not spoil. It was kind of actually spoiled for me, but I'm not going to give it out. Some of you already have seen this and know what's going to happen with this character because this character gets what they have in the comics, and so this series is pretty much setting that up. As some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. Anyways, what really excited me was seeing Madame Gao fight. Seeing the other two leaders of the hand fight, it was okay. It was just to keep the other characters busy, Daredevil and Luke Cage and whatnot. But seeing Gao fight, it was so awesome and this comes from my liking of the character. Because Jessica Jones, who's a tough person, is telling Gao, be careful with me because I might hurt you. That's not her exact line, but it's close to. But already, before even Gao it does anything, I'm like, Jessica, you need to watch out because Gao is the one who is tougher than she looks. That was the actual line, that Jessica is tougher than she looks. Because even though that Gao is a mystery character, I sense that there's more to her. So when she is fighting, that was so awesome because she's using powers. She's, using these mystical powers to move concrete, to move objects, she's moving things to put someone out of action, like Luke Cage. She moves a car to pin him against the wall, and so Jessica Jones is kind of put out of her element because she expected to just wail on this person, but no, she sees that it's a tough fight, and she's doing her best to fight with her and deal with her. So it's a very good fight with them. You kind of get the element that we want to have a girl-on-girl fight because we don't want to have a guy, hitting and harming Gao. You kind of get that elements, but whatever, you can have Elektra fight one of the other characters because she's a strong character. But you kind of get the sense that, it had to be a girl-on-girl fight with Gao. For whatever reason. But anyways, just seeing Gao fight was so awesome. Because, again, there's so much about her character you don't know. And, seeing elements of, things that, like her mystical abilities, because it's not entirely explained. And it's like, it's amazing to build a hold. Anyways, the very last episode, it was good. The last two were good. It's just in some ways, you didn't have the impending doom that was being set up, and you kind of needed more of that. Maybe we should have had more, earthquakes and signs of danger while the hand was taking the bones. We got a little bit of power outage and a bit, but maybe we should have had more of that. That's the classic movie, up the ante type of thing, of more disasters and whatnot. The show the peril that everyone's in and why the heroes need to do what they're doing. Otherwise it's just, the hand won mortality, and we're evil people, and, we're gonna continue on, and, we don't care about other people. But, it was enjoyable, the last episodes. Certain things, it seemed like certain characters were going to be taken out, but with the revelation that they're going to get another season, it's not given the sense of danger that it's, put out. Sure, there's the moments of, this character didn't come back, and those are good moments, but it's kind of cut in half, as it were, because you know this character's going to come back in the series. So overall, I like Defenders. I think it was good that it was a good miniseries. I've talked about the CW crossover with Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, and Legends. That I kind of felt was done a bit better, because here with the Alien Heroes versus Aliens Invasion crossover, they had 4 episodes crossing over, and this time around they did well and had it well written out, and were able to have all these multiple plot lines and all these different elements, clashing together and working well. So that I felt was kind of done a little bit better, barring one episode, and I've commented about this before, and that was the Arrow episode, and that was because, of certain things, and I was okay with it because of that. It made me reminded me of other things. With Defenders, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching it. It's just, again, these Netflix Marvel series, they start out intense, but to maintain them intensely is difficult. So as these series go on, that intensity is is waning. And certainly with Iron Fist, I felt that this is the moment that the intensity is being drawn out and has kind of fizzled out. And you kind of felt that with Defenders, that the intensity has kind of fizzled out. And that's my only major complaint with the series. As a miniseries, I thought Defenders was very good. And has some comment is very much Daredevil 2.0. And that's the main reason I enjoy this series and would rewatch the series, because I very much felt it was part of the Daredevil Creator Whole, series. And there's maybe a second series of Defenders, and hopefully, whatever issues this series had, they'll have worked out for the second one. But anyways, overall, I enjoyed it. I just have my nitpicks, and then, and that's just how it is, And it's just because, of how sometimes things are written, and sometimes things could have been written better. That's all. And again, it's with the cheapness of the look sometimes. It could have looked a bit better in some ways. And maybe, they just didn't entirely want to spend the money. Maybe they didn't have the money because of certain things. I don't know. But we'll see. We'll see. Anyways, point is, I enjoyed the series. I would recommend watching it. And that's all I have to say. So, take care, guys. Thank you for watching.